All right, we should be live any second. And here we go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Barn on 11970. Thank you for taking the time to check out my video. And I got an interesting one here that I want to talk about. And I did a lot of research on this, so bear with me. And if you're watching this, I really recommend watching it from the beginning because there's a lot of mathematics, believe it or not. This is more research than I've done on pretty much anything in recent times. And it's one of those things where if you've been watching my videos, you know every now and then I'll have dreams where I'll just wake up and it's almost like somebody downloaded information saying, all right, research this particular thing. So when I woke up this morning, I had this urge to check out how much oil really is on this planet, the size of the planet, and does it really fit in to what they're telling us? And I find this quite interesting. So I'm going to do a bunch of numbers here. So bear with me and you could research this yourself. All right. So the first thing I wanted to do is find out what they supposedly say is the circumference of the Earth. Now, if you're worried about the flat Earth or round Earth or anything like that, I'm not going in that. I'm just basing it on what they're telling us to see if it makes sense with the oil. So if you're a flat Earth person, just bear with me with this. I'm just going by the numbers that they tell us to see if it really fits. So the Earth's circumference, it's got a 24,901 mile radius. Now, if you take that into cubic miles, that will equal approximately 260 billion cubic miles. Now, of the cubic miles of the Earth, you have land mass, which is about 29.2%, is 57,510,000 cubic miles just in land mass. You take water into consideration, you have 332,519,000 cubic miles from there. Now, if you take the core of the Earth as they explain it, okay, you have several different layers. You have, of course, the top layer, which is the crust, which consists of the landmass and the water. You have the upper mantle, which is 360 to 405 kilometers. You have what's called the transition zone, which is 250 kilometers. The lower mantle, which is 2,230 kilometers. The outer core, which is 2,260 kilometers. And the inner core, which is 1,220 kilometers. Now, just to put in perspective, the inner core, which is the smallest of all the different cores, is approximately 70% of the circumference of the moon. Now, the moon is 21.9 billion cubic kilometers, or 5,254,089,419 cubic miles. So if you subtract all of those things from the total landmass of the Earth, from the total cubic circumference, cubic miles, if you subtract all of that, just from the inner core, not including the other layers that I mentioned, that equals 255 billion, almost 256 billion cubic miles that is left over. That's not including the whole entire part. That's just including the outer core and the absolute center, which is the smallest part, which is about 70% of the Earth's, of the moon. Now, if you take that into gallons, there is approximately 1.1 trillion gallons that would fit into 1 cubic mile. So if you times that, the 255 billion cubic miles, times the 1 trillion, approximately 1.1 trillion gallons, you get a number of 281 sextillion, 811 quintillion, 232 quadrillion, 29 trillion, 287 million, 95,375,000, 24 gallons that would be held supposedly. And again, that's not including the outer core, the lower mantle, the upper mantle, the transition zone. Now, according to the records, as of now, we use 94 million barrels of oil per day around the world. Now, 1 barrel equals 42 gallons, which means per day we use 3,948,000 gallons per day. If you times that by a year, that's over 1.4 trillion gallons of oil just in 1 year. Now, according to the research, they said since they've been doing recorded history of oil, since 1870, they're saying that we've used only 135 billion barrels of oil. If you times that by 94, that's only 12.69 trillion gallons of oil. Now, if you see that, that doesn't make sense, because they're saying over 130 years, about 140 years, we've only used 12.6 trillion gallons of oil, but yet we do 1 trillion gallons of oil per year. That doesn't add up. Now, of course, obviously we have more people, but are you telling me we use that much more oil to the point where, let's just say for the past 10 years, if we've averaged that, because you could say pretty much the population has not been dramatically changed, maybe a billion people in the past 10 years. You times the 1.4 times 12 by 10, and that equals just the amount that they're saying. And again, if you actually calculate, because I couldn't get all the information on the inner core, the outer core. Well, I got the inner core, but I couldn't get the outer core, lower mantle transition. But that's supposedly all filled with either liquids or solid metals. So you're talking about 95% of the Earth is supposedly either liquid magma or metals like iron, nickel, silicon, gold, platinum, uranium. Where are we fitting all this oil into this supposed ball? So my thing is, if you actually look at the numbers, they do not make sense, especially when they're talking about the fact that we've used approximately 135 billion gallons of oil. Now, that's not including any oil spills, or when you see the old days when they would find an oil rig, the oil would be bursting all over the place. If you look at what they did in the war in Iraq back in the 80s, how they were just burning oil, so they don't even count any of those millions of gallons of oil that have been destroyed over the century. It just doesn't add up. So my thing is oil being made the way they're telling us? Now, they're supposedly telling us it was made by fossil fuel. In other words, dinosaurs and other things that died compressed into making this amount of oil. Now, last time I checked, we haven't had dinosaurs in a very long time. And we're supposedly using, like I said, approximately 1.4 trillion gallons of oil per year. Now, of course, that will reduce as we go back in time, but still, the amount of numbers that they've been saying just does not add up. I mean, just the inner core in cubic miles is 3.6 billion cubic miles. And that's basically 1/10 of the entire inner part of the Earth. The rest of it is supposed to be mantle and solid rock and liquid lava. So to me, I would love to know where all this oil is coming from. So if you want to do some research on this, basically you would need to look up those other areas that I could not find and see where it adds up, because it just, to me, does not make sense, and something is not seeming right. So if you guys want to check into this a little bit, I mean, if you haven't seen this from the beginning, check from the beginning. You'll see all the numbers. You can calculate them yourself. You can actually research how you can do these things, how you can convert the radius of the Earth into cubic miles, and then end up dividing that into finding out how many gallons per cubic mile, and it just doesn't seem to add up. I would love to know where this oil is coming from, because it does not seem to fit into the equation of what they're talking about. So I hope you'll do some research on this and check into it and ask questions, because with lots of things, like in the media, within the government and everything, we're being lied to. So there's something going on that does not fit. And if you want to check it out and research it, I hope you do. So I'm not going to make this video too long so people can check it out. check out the equations yourself, see what you think. Let's hear your opinions. And yeah, that's just something I really wanted to talk about, and I hope you enjoyed it. So if you did, thumbs up are great. Thumbs down if you hated it. And if you want to leave a comment, please do. But don't forget to hit subscribe and check my videos all the time because a lot of people tell me the notifications never work. So come to my channel periodically and see if I've posted a video, or just check out some of the older stuff and see if you can find something that you might have missed. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.